Hello and welcome to our next Pilates session, intermediate level quad position, and we're straight onto the mats. On all fours, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, as close to that position as you can. As we move the spine, round the back up, tuck the chin, and opposite way. Full movement into that spine, as we always do. Great warm-up exercise, great daily exercise for your spine. And again, one of the most important exercises that will move that spine. Concentrate on that pelvic tilt as you round that back up. Those hips tilt, the hips tilt backwards, and that brings that pubic bone towards that chin and adds to that position. And it really contracts those abdominals, warms them up. As it goes the opposite way, the back muscles contract. And all the way up along the spine, we're getting a movement. Including that neck, if of course that neck is comfortable with that movement. Any issues in that C-spine, then you can go with a little bit less movement if you have to, if either position causes any pain, like when you lift that chin, in case it pinches on that neck. Once more, back to neutral. From there we lift, curl the toes under and lift and bring the stretch down along the back of the legs. Let's get that release. Drop the knees back down. We aim to not drop the knees down from here on in. Push, get the stretch, drop and touch. Breathe in, breathe out. Try and drop into a nice postural position for the spine here where the back is in line, rather than having a rounded posture, which is a little bit more like this. Watch the way my back is rounded, which was our first exercise when we were resting on the mat. Two more. So try and bring it. It's a tougher position to get the back in line, and everything works a little bit more. Rest it down. Let's open up the hips, step the foot outside, drop your shoulder, changing sides each time. So trying to get that arm down nice and low as that foot comes down. As you step that foot out, drop your shoulder inside the knee and get that arm down close to the ground, as close as it will go. Try and step a little bit further forward if you can as you do it as well. And a little bit maybe out to the side. A mixture of the two will change the stretch. Once more on each side. And back to the center. Again, we're lifting, wrists comfortable. You can adjust them to have them a little bit more forward or raise them up onto the front of your mat so the heel of the hand is a little bit higher on a raised platform above your knuckle. Or you can drop to the elbows if you really have to. Let's go back to our previous exercise that we lifted without going into the stretch. We're just lifting off and resting back down. Breathe in as you're resting back down. Breathe out and lift. You're breathing out for that 2 seconds. You're resting down. Breathing in for that 2 seconds. Breathe out. Keep the head in position. Watch that the head doesn't fall really low. Let's try and keep our posture with our neck as well. Knees, toes are comfortable. Just barely lifting the knees off, and again that spine is nice and aligned as best you can. Once more, lift and let's hold. We'll hold on that position for 5 breaths. Again, keep those wrists comfortable. Have them a little bit more in front if you have to. Draw those shoulders away from those ears and lift. Straight away, that'll take a little bit less pressure. 5 breaths, 4 more. 4, 3 more. 2 more. And last big breath, ribs expanding out to the side. And rest those knees down. Sit back, stretch the arms into the ground. Let's move forward and back. Bend the spine as you go back. Work on that extension. Nice and gentle as you go forward. Let's not force that position. Once more each way. And bringing it back into your quad position. We're back to a rounding of our back. Let's round our spine up as much as we can. Straight away I can feel more movement in that exercise. Things are a little bit warmer, obviously, since we started. So movement is a little bit freer. And now we can lengthen and stretch a little bit more each way. Still thinking about that pelvic tilt. And we're going to try and round our back a little bit now. So the last exercise we lifted and we tried not to go into that rounded position. But this time we're going to try and move, which takes a little bit of technique. Keep that center strong. So we're not going to go into an arched position. You won't be able to go too much into that position anyways. You're going to stay more neutral and rounded. But we're going to be lifted. Okay? Which will be harder on the technique. Let's do 1 rep at a time. So, curl the toes under. Let's lift the knees barely off. And again, breathe in. Round it up. Breathe out as you control it back. Rest it down. You can alternate 1 rep up, 1 rep down if you want. Let's try and stay with 1 rep all of the time of lifted. Lift off. Breathe in. Breathe out, back to neutral, rest it down. Next time we lift, let's keep moving. And again, wrists comfortable, adjust them if you have to. A lot of technique in this exercise. Two more, let's keep that going. If you drop down, you come back up. Last one, pelvic tilt as well. And drop it down. Bring the hands wide out to the side and moving side to side. Shoulder on one side and then the other. Push that chest gently towards the ground. Keep your neck comfortable. Can put a little bit of a pull on the neck when you do this. So find a comfortable position. Maybe you need to keep your head central rather than moving your head from side to side, which can add a little bit more pressure on the neck. That still mobilizes that neck a little bit because those shoulders are moving. Once more each side. And again, from there, this time bring the hands a little bit wider into a press up position. And let's stay knees down to begin with. Let's concentrate on our technique of our press ups again. Let's concentrate on our shoulder blades coming together and apart. When you go low, shoulder blades together. When you go high, shoulder blades apart. Shoulder blades together when you're low and apart when you're high. Breathe in as you go down. Breathe out as you come back up. We can always stay in that position if you want. Once we do make it a little bit tougher. So you have that option if that upper body isn't as strong as you would like. Let's lift and let's go in the top half of the exercise at the very least. If you can go full way down, then do. We'll lift, knees low or a little bit higher if you have to, and drop down and push back up. 7 more repetitions. Remember, halfway if you have to, or stay knees down if you have to. Maybe you can only do 4 and 4. 4 down and 4 up. As in, rest down for the last 4 reps. Once more. And rest the knees down, stretch. Lengthen the arms, push the chest into the ground. Get that breath into the body. And let's take it all the way down flat. Give those arms a little bit of a breather from the weight of press-ups. And from there, let's lift ourselves up. Hands on the ground, a little bit of flexibility. Come back up further if with the hands if you want to go higher, depending on your flexibility in that lower spine. And it's not just lower spine, it's a combination all the way up along the spine. How high you can go, but if there's restriction in that lower spine, straight away you're going to feel that restriction and you're not going to be able to come up too high. Once more. Slowly bringing it back down. Bring your arms down by your side, palms face down, and let's lift the upper back off. Control it back down. So again, just getting that upper back, or rather lifting the upper parts of the body. Shoulders, head, shoulders, gently above the hips. Getting those back muscles all the way up along the center of the spine. Working. Those muscles that keep that spine nice and stable, nice and tall, nice and supported. And we're going to add in those legs as well. Everything lifts off. Control it back down. Little pause at the top each time. Toughest position, try and just stay there just for that little pause and then control it back down. Comfortable on that lower back. Once more, but we're going to change it. Slowly resting it back down. Give that back a little breather this time. We are going to lift the upper body, then the lower body. Everything is going to return back down together. Stay legs down at any stage if you have to, or just go at one leg at a time changing. So lift the upper back off, lift the legs off, and then control it back down. Not fully resting at the bottom. Knees touch the mat, shoulders almost touch, head almost touches, and lift the upper back again. Lower, slowly back down. So, nice and controlled movement all the time. If you can keep the legs a little bit higher as you come back down, do, so they don't have to drop too low. So upper, lower, and slowly back down. Upper, lower, and slowly back down. Control it back down once more. Gently resting back down, give that back a little bit of a breather. But let's do a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of mobility for that spine. Now watch this next exercise always with the lower back, if the lower back is an issue. So we're going to lift, we're going to roll gently to one side, lift. So my right leg is coming up, rolling off and over and trying to get as far across that side as you can. Need a bit of space to do this. And changing legs each time. So left leg, bend the knee, roll off to the side and get that foot as close to that ground. But that is not the aim. The aim is to get as much movement, as much lift, as much stretch as you can. So touching the ground is not your, don't think that that's the most important thing. It's about mobilizing, it's about moving that lower back. Keep your center nice and strong. So we get that mobility. And even though this is a mobility exercise, it can be a little bit tough. So go less movement if you have to. And breathe, brace, keep that core nice and tight. And keep the shoulders comfortable as well. If you have a shoulder issue, as you roll onto that as your right leg goes up and over, your left shoulder gets a stretch. So stretching your chest, opens up the front of the hip. So keep it all comfortable in the joints, lower back and shoulder especially. And as always, less movement if you have to. If it doesn't feel right in the hip, in the lower back, then go a little bit less movement. Just go with a gentle movement. And keep it gentle. And that'll be much easier at everything. But brace that center and gently rest it down. Let's lift everything off again, and this time we're staying up, but the legs work up and down. Our upper body stays still, and now like we did earlier, but our legs are moving. Easier option, have both legs down. You can still have those hands down if you want as well, and just lift one leg and then the other. Always the easier when we're working those back muscles, or even the abdominals, one leg at a time rather than two. Always less pressure in that back. Breathe out as you lift, little pause, control it back down. Two more. Last one. Gently resting it down back. Little breather. We still go again. One more. Lift and the legs are going out and in. The aim is to do it fast, small and fast, but you can slow it down if you have to. Easier option. Lift, feet out and in. Slowly if you need to. Keep them relatively close together. Don't stretch them too wide. Especially if that back or those hips are under any strain, if you feel them under pressure. Because that can catch things a little bit. Everything works a little bit tougher, a little bit harder when they're wider. Small, fast beating. Keep that center strong, braced. Hips, two hip bones are drawing together. While those feet beat, let's move those arms forward and back, which is a little bit tricky on the coordination. So if you have to stop one or the other, then do. Feet moving fast in and out. Arms moving slow forward and back. That's a tricky one for the coordination. 5 more seconds. Breathe. And gently rest it down. Give that back a little breather. Let's push back. Let's get that stretch in the back first. And we're going to loosen out those hips in the next exercise, but we're going to keep working. We're going to come up into our plank position, and we're going to go into our glute stretch on the outside, into our pigeon stretch, which is across the body like that. So stretch on the outside. Little turn if you have to when you rest down to try and, so stretching my right hip, then I turn around to my right hand side gently and lean that hip into it. And we're changing sides each time. So lift and bring the stretch nice and high and change to the other side. So you're coming down into the stretch again, little twist to that left hand side. If it's your left hip you're stretching, and changing sides each time. Feeling the stretch on the outside of the hip. We're in that stretch 2 seconds max. and aim to get the foot across to the other side of the mat. Knee might not like it if there's an issue there. So foot is on one side of the mat, knee is out in front or thereabouts. Try not to have your knee too far across the body, otherwise that body starts to rotate. Now you might still get a stretch there, but we're trying to get those hip rotators stretched, which are extremely important. And still stretching when we go high. In that position, push the heels towards the ground. So round. And the next time we stretch, let's hold that stretch. Now, we're going to move in this stretch. So you're going to move just barely. You're going to try and do what I asked you to do. So get the position right, get the foot across the body, get the knee in the ground and in front. And I'm stretching my left hip, so I'm going to turn to my left. And then I'm going to ease out of it. Every time I turn to my left, we're going into the stretch. So make sure you can feel that stretch a little bit. And then as you go to the left, you feel it a little bit more. Into that stretch. As you rotate your body out of it, that right hip, I'm on my left leg, so the right hip comes out, and then try and bring that right hip around again. And once more. And let's switch around. So bring it nice and high. Get that release down on the back of the legs and bring your other leg around again. It's my right hip, right foot is on that far side of the mat, left hand side. My right knee is out in front of my hip. It can be a little bit wider if needs be, as long as you get the rotation. And again, turn into that stretch towards that hip. Ease out of it and ease into it. Breathe. And make sure you can feel that stretch each time. And you can feel yourself going a little bit deeper. Those arms help you. They can push you to twist that body. But more importantly, you're trying to bring that hip around. Turn your body. To open up that hip a little bit more each time. One more repetition. Feel that deeper stretch, get that little rotation. Hands are pushing you into the stretch, and we will come out of that. Arms strong, push back nice and high. Let's lift, let's hold that position, but let's drop and lift into our plank position. Let's do a little bit of work in that plank position. Drop, one leg lifts, then the other. Back up into the stretch, back down. Every time you go into your plank, let's try and get straight lines. Lift one leg, lift the other leg. Back high into the stretch, plank, lift, lift. Easier option, you don't lift that leg. When you're in your plank, you stay there and you come back up again. Or another option is when you go high, lift the leg. So when you're up here, you can lift the leg, which is easier and still adds a little bit more to that exercise. But if you can, in that plank position, when everything is working, that's when we want to do it. Breathe. Once more, let's stay there. Let's keep lifting. Whether you were staying high in the easier option, or even just drop into that plank position. Drop to the elbows if you have to. If those wrists are under too much pressure, or just adjust to the front of the mat straight away now. Heels of the hands are a little bit raised, and it's a little bit less pressure. Once more each side. Drop the knees, sit back, shoulders are feeling it at that stage. Push the chest into the ground. And let's get a little bit of rotation. So from there, step your left leg back and turn. Right arm is off, stretch it through, and let's mobilize that thoracic spine, that mid spine in between the shoulder blades, below the neck, above the lower back. And for a change, rather than following the hand, I want you to go the opposite. So I want you to look down. Keep the neck comfortable, keep it nice and controlled. So when you open up, I want you to look down. We're still following as we go through, because that's a little bit more awkward to do. We won't do it in that position. We'll follow through and we look down as that hand goes high. Comfortable on that neck. Last one. And as you come down, switch. Right arm is on the ground. My right foot is extended back behind, toes on the ground for balance. Left arm stretches through, get that stretch through, keep that supporting arm straight. And then as you open up, look down at that supporting arm. Again, more a flexibility exercise, not a majorly tough one. A little bit of work for that supporting shoulder, takes your weight. A little bit for that top arm as it opens up. Last one. And gently rest it back down. One more time, we're going to lift and we're going to get a little bit of work. We're going to do it on the elbows to give those wrists a little bit of a breather. We're going to lift and we are getting our arm moving out to the side. The aim is to start by turning the body. So let's start with our knees on the ground and let's turn. So let's turn the body. The aim is to do that lifted, but we will progress to doing it without turning. And I say progress because it's going to be harder to actually turn, to bring that arm out to the side without turning. So you're keeping the shoulders still. So lift the knees off, stay down as always if you have to. Feet wider will help a little bit with that balance and it'll help keep you a little bit more steady. Turn. Turn that upper portion of the body. Now you can still do this up in the hands if you want. Trying to keep the knees steady so they're not moving from side to side. The body isn't changing position. Breathe out. Breathe in. Do as many as you can. If you pop back down, come back up again. Rest it down on that after that repetition. Quick breather, and now we do it bringing the elbow out. So the elbow goes out and nothing else is changing. So lift, out. Shoulder has to work a lot more here. Because you're not turning. So you need that strength in that shoulder. Keep that neck comfortable. If it's not, straight up. And then again, it goes out to the side. That puts more pressure on the wrist. Still works that shoulder a lot. But less pressure on your neck. Once more, each side again. If you have that rest, you come back up, you try to, and rest it down, you try to do that another repetition. Come back up, even if it means resting down after every time you do your both arms. So right arm, left arm, rest it down. And then go again. You find a way to keep working. Don't take the easy option by staying on the knees all the time. Lift them off. Let's go into our mermaid to turn around. So rest, one foot, inner thigh, both knees going bent, both feet going off behind, and in that position we move from side to side. Lengthen, breathe in, Breathe out. Notice I'm not trying to go down too low down here. You can, but then that brings the whole body down quite low. Let's try and stay a little bit taller with the body. So we're starting tall. And again, you put something underneath your hips if you need to raise yourself up. Cushion, a block, whichever. Lift to the sky. You're getting that side to side movement to work those muscles and to lengthen them. Back is comfortable. If the knees don't like this exercise, do it in standing, do it on your knees, or raise yourself up. Because even as I'm doing this now, I can feel a little bit of pressure in that knee from an old injury. So that's a little bit tighter compared to the rest, compared to when I switch around. And that will limit some movement as well, so keep it comfortable. That twist on the knee can cause some issues. Last one each way. And just switch the 2 feet around. Both feet go the opposite direction. Rest that foot onto that inner thigh. And let's get going. Again, this exercise is a great one to do every day. Even if it doesn't mean going into this position, into the mermaid position with the hips, just lengthen the side of the body. Again, warm up before you do it. Because when you go to these type of side bending movements, the back has to work, it has to move a little bit more, so get it warmed up before you do it. And it's used to doing its flexion extension exercises a lot more, because they're positions that we do a lot more throughout the day. Whereas side bending, we don't use them as frequent as forward and back. So warm up before you do it. Put it into your daily routine with your cat camel exercise. And if one side, last repetition each side, is a lot easier to work with than the other, practice it. Wherever your weaknesses are in Pilates, that's what you should try and work on. So if one side is weaker than the other, work on it. Let's bring it around onto our backs. And let's get let's get those abdominals, let's get those hips back working as well in our shoulder bridge. Peel the spine off and imprint back down. Lift the hips high. Imprint back down. Peeling off. Again, think of the technique of the exercise. If you're working the technique of something, it's going to help with the exercise. Same with everything you do in life. There is a certain technique to it. If you work on that technique, if there's something you're weak at, then work on the technique and it becomes better. We work on our weaknesses and we get stronger. So peeling off, pelvic tilt as much as you can. Dip that pubic bone and head up nice and high. Try and pull those feet in nice and close to the butt, as comfortable as it is on the knees, as much as you can. And that way you open up the hips a little bit more when you go high. Let's do some calf raises next time we go up. So lift high and let's do some calf raises. Up onto the toes. Again, pull the feet closer towards you if you have to. We're staying hips high. Up onto the toes. Hips are pressing up. Keep the hips pressing up. Even though the heels go down, the hips try not to. Now that's not going to be possible. They'll still drop down a little bit. But we stay up nice and high. Abdominals are firm. Hips drawing together, bracing that TVA muscle that wraps around. Breathe out as you lift. Slowly with those heels. Really work the full ankle, the full calf muscle to go right up onto the toes. Calves comfortable. Try and get them almost shaking on the way back down. Breathe in on the way down. Breathe out on the way back up. Once more. Control the heels back down. Imprint your spine back down. Bring the hips back down. And let's peel off again. And this time, flat-footed, straighten one leg. Now let's try and take the arms off so that we don't use them for balance. You can push them into the ground. If you're struggling to keep the height of the exercise, push the hands in. That gets the back working a little bit more because those muscles that we use to move those arms to push down will engage, which can help a little bit. But let's try and put a little bit more pressure on our legs, on our back as well. If the back is under too much strain, hands come in. And if it's still under too much strain, then you can drop your hips. Drop them a little bit and still go onto one leg. Lower will be easier. Less pressure on that back. Other than that, straight line from the shoulder to the knees. And as you straighten that leg each time, let's try not to have any shift in your balance. If you need to bring your feet close together, and that means you can have a little bit more balance because you make it like a tripod. Narrow foot position, and then the two shoulders as the other 2 points. But it will change the way the muscles work. Bring them in line with the hips if you can. And then everything, the balance is completely different. Breathe out, lengthen that leg, breathe in. Let's go onto the toes and do the same exercise. Up onto the toes. Stay flat-footed if you have to, or even just lift the heel a fraction. Maybe a couple of centimeters off the mat, half an inch. If you can go high, then do, but watch the balance again. Again, we try for no change in balance. Bring the arms back down by your side if you have to. All that moves is the knee straightening. There's no drop of the hips. There's no tilt. There's no nothing. No dropping of one hip on the other. It's staying completely straight. If the toes don't have the support, then again, drop the heels more. Breathe out, breathe in. Center strong, center brace, pelvic floor muscles gently contracted. Side to side, front to back, muscles to stop you from going to the toilet. Once more each side. Imprint the spine back down. Let's pull the knees to the chest. Let's let that back relax, round it out, let a little bit of movement after it being stuck in the same position for the last while, the muscles working. So now we mobilize those joints by using our arms to pull the knees towards you. And from there, let's lift the legs to tabletop position. So lift the legs to tabletop. We'll stay upper body down first, and let's lower one leg and pull it back. Breathe in and breathe out. Little pause at full stretch. Now let's be aware of that lower back. Let's keep that abdominal area firm, braced. If you can't keep that lower back on the mat, so it starts in tabletop, it's in the right position there. If it changes, if it starts to move in that space in that lower back, that means that the strength you don't have that strength in those abdominals to stop it from arching. There's a little bit of weakness there. So adjust it. How do we adjust it? 45 degrees, maybe slightly lower, depending on how far you can go without that back coming under pressure or without it arching. But if you can lower it down, do. Let's lift the shoulders off. Let's keep that going. But we're reversing the legs. One drops, one tabletop, switch. Keep that breathing. One more big breath in. And out. Gently rest it down. Rest the head. Pull the knee towards you. Remember, you can support that head at any stage when you are doing your changing sides each time with this exercise. You can support your head at any stage if those neck muscles come under too much strain. And that is something that if the neck does come at you the next day, then it's probably these exercises where you're trying to keep the head up. Those neck muscles have to keep the weight of the head off the ground. And if there's soreness in the neck, it's probably those ones that are going to do it. In which case, support your head and see, does that make the difference? So you're supporting your head when you're doing these abdominal exercises. Let's support the head for the next one. Let's lift the legs to tabletop, roll up, support, elbows wide, and let's go with crisscross. So the elbow, or rather the shoulder, comes across to that opposite knee. Lower back stays on the mat. Breathe in, breathe out. Nice and slow. Once more each side. Pull the knees wide, open up the inner thighs, get that little bit of a rock side to side. Pull on the right leg, pull on the left leg in quick succession, and that creates a rocking motion side to side. And every time you pull, you get a stretch into that inner thigh. You're opening up left, right, in between the hips, right up deep towards that pubic bone. Keep it comfortable. You can let those knees go a little bit further away if you want. It'll go a little bit further into the stretch. Feel it a little bit more. Don't stay there too long if you're not used to that position. And gently bring them in. Lift the legs, knees together, squeeze, hands together. Squeeze, roll up. Bring the hands back as far as you can. But in that position, we hold and we straighten our legs. One leg is easier. Remember, always one leg. Lower back. If it's under pressure, you take the easier option. Squeezing the hands, squeezing the knees, squeezing the feet. Once more. Gently rest. Give that head a little bit of a breather again. And if those hands squeezing is too much pressure, support your head. Again, never wait for that neck to come under pressure. Get to know what exercises suit and what don't. And again, we're going to lift, but first we're going to go into the quick stretch. Straighten one leg, drop the knee across. Change. Rotating that spine, rotating that back. And bring it back to the center. And let's finish off. Let's get those abdominals working again one last time. And let's try and stay off without dropping back down. Roll the shoulders up. Let's go straight into our 100. So breathe, hands by your side, palms face down, hip bones on the outside, or rather thigh bone. Keep the hands low, just above the mat, and breathe in for 5 beats, out for the next 5 beats. One more big breath in and out. Hands behind the head for support, back to our crisscross. Hold. One big breath in and switch. Lower back is on the mat at all times. Gentle support of that head. Hold the next one. And another breath. And one more. And switch, 3 breaths. Once more. Bring it back, no rest. Bring the knees together again. Hands squeeze, knees squeeze. Bring the hands back and let's lift the shoulders. 10, 9, 8, 7. Lower back comfortable. 6, 5. Squeeze again. 4, 3. Stay high. 2. Last one. Lift and hold for 10, 9, 8. Stay high. 7, 6. Squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2. No rest. Straighten the legs. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Pull the knees to the chest. Breathe. Fill the lungs with air. Lengthen away. Arms back behind. Lift the ribs. Get that stretch. Feel after that those last couple of exercises where those abdominals were really feeling the work. Now we lengthen that area. If the shoulders are uncomfortable in this position, get them down by your side. Don't put that. If one shoulder is under pressure, you can get the other one back if you want. And either way, you want to lift the ribs, so you can do that with your hands by your side. Just to get that, it's not as effective. Arching the back. Oh, keep the back comfortable. Or if you want, you can always turn over and bend your spine the opposite way. So you go hands on the ground and lift yourself up, which is what we did in the class earlier on, which is what we often do. And let's get that little bit of a stretch into the rotation into the spine and bring that knee across the body. Try and keep that shoulder on the ground as that knee comes across, which can be a little bit harder. And again, trying to get that rotation up along the spine. You feel those ribs maybe as well opening up. And just breathe. You can relax in the stretch a little bit more. Try and go a little bit deeper if you can. And gently back and change. Switch legs. Remember, not rolling onto your side, that defeats the purpose. Bring that knee across to the opposite side. Push that knee to the floor. Get that arm low. Shoulder on the ground. And again, push that knee. And gently bring it back. Sit. Bring it up. Spin around. Let's bring the foot out to the side and let's get the stretch into the inner thigh. We're going to do this on both sides, and you can do it twice if you want, or we will change the stretch if you're able to do the second stretch, which I'll show you in a second. But we'll start by this one, so stretching those longer inner thigh muscles by pushing that foot gently towards the floor. You can always move over a little bit more to open up the hips a little bit more. So bring that knee off over to the other side a little bit more. But again, keep it comfortable. Those arms can be there to control how deep you go into it. Remember, inner thigh, not hamstring. So don't sit too far back and don't turn the toes up unless you want to concentrate on that area. We're going for inner thighs. And gently out of it. And change, foot out to the side. Inner thigh stretch again. Again, you can move over further if you want, or as it opens up, go a little bit deeper. End of the class, you can go deeper, but within reason. Same with any training program, you can't go too deep too soon, or that's how we overstretch. Build up your ability to go into a stretch and get to know how deep you can go in. Bring it back. You can change if you want again, if this next one doesn't suit, if the knees don't like it, or it's just too awkward a position. So the elbows push as wide as you can, They're on the inner thighs, just inside the knees, and they are pushing wide. You're leaning forward gently to put a little bit of back weight on your shoulders and really push with the elbows. Nice strong arms to open up the inner thighs, and that goes a little bit deeper. Again, if this doesn't suit your previous exercise, just do another quick stretch on each side, because we're staying here in this position. And gently relax. Quick stretch, shoulder to finish it off. Pull across. That last one's a nice stretch if you can do it, but again, if you can't, you can just bring that leg out to the side. And change. Again, feeling that stretch in that shoulder on the outside. And shake him out. And we are done. Okay guys, thanks again. Another good session done. A couple of tough exercises in there today, especially to finish off. The longer we stay with those abdominals, if we do them in a couple of exercises together, it can be quite tough and tire them out, which is good. Well done. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.